I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about Aaron Thomas and his contribution to Lumbee Recognition. But before I get started, I'd like to give a little bit of background. I've always been on the opposite side in politics as Aaron Thomas in Metcon. And in this last vote concerning the amendments to the Constitution, I was on the opposite side again as well. And before deciding to make this video, I removed myself from Lumbee's United for Accountability so I could be free to make the statement that I plan to do this evening about Mr. Aaron Thomas and his contribution. But a little bit of background. My daughter babysat for Aaron Thomas and his family maybe 15 to 20 years ago. My daughter always had good things to say about Aaron and his family. Additionally, my first meeting with Aaron was a chance meeting at a poll site back in 2016, and we exchanged words for a couple of minutes. And what I noticed he mentioned during that time, if I remember correctly, something to the effect, Linda, how do we all get together and unify around issues going on in our county? That was the last time I met Aaron Thomas until about 2 going on 3 weeks ago. I got a phone call that he'd like to talk with me. So I decided to meet and talk with him. I'm the kind of person that believes in talking on all sides and with everyone involved and listen to what the concerns might be. So I did that. And I'd like to share that about that meeting tonight with you and give you a different perspective than what you may have been hearing on Facebook and so forth about his contribution recognition. And he's been beat up. As you know, he wrote a post, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago. And in that post, he described some actions that he and others had done toward achieving recognition, but he also recognized some others as well. So I'd like to just give you my take and how this meeting went. Now, he has not asked me for anything during that meeting. He didn't ask me to make this video. We just had a discussion that lasted around 3 hours. And that discussion included some small talk as well as a discussion on unity again. He mentioned it again this time. How do we unify? How do we get moving forward on this issue of gaming in the Lumbee tribe? And I asked him why I was there and what role he thought that I might play. And I even mentioned to him that as a part of Lumbee, that I was a player in Lumbee's United for Accountability, but a minor player, just a member and not a spokesperson, and I could not speak on behalf of what the group was doing. So what we did during that 3-hour time, I heard him talk about unity. I heard the passion in his voice about his people, the Lumbee people. He talked about and got the Constitution. He got the Constitution out and he walked the dog on the Constitution of why, in his mind, he believed that there was no path forward. So we talked about that, at which time I deferred to Miss Arlinda, his position that there is possibilities that exist. He also explained why the sense of urgency, and I understood that, and I couldn't disagree with his perspective, and that depends on whether he told me everything or just some key pieces, but I felt like he was honest and upfront. Then he talked to me and explained how a chance meeting led to this recognition. I listened to very carefully. And with a bear hunt through a third party, an invitation to Donald Trump Jr., through a third party, if I remember correctly, for a bear hunt. And Donald Trump Jr. accepted the bear hunt. And that began a relationship. This lasted over until this day. It's probably started maybe 10 years ago. I'm not sure of when this started. And I think it might have been around the last election cycle. And he took the time, effort, and energy to cultivate relationships with him, with others, through his political lobbying as a Republican, and working with those people to get elected. And it just so happened that during that time, from this chance meeting, various people got into various positions. He mentioned to all these people during that time the issue to Lumbee. And eventually, the pieces fell into place through the cultivation of those relationships, and we ended up with federal recognition. So this is a perspective I'd like to share with you. And we're going to use a football analogy. When I would have preferred that he not make the posts that he made, but everybody would like to get credit for their contributions, and I don't see a problem with that. And he also acknowledged the others in the process. So let me give you a different perspective using a football analogy. The federal recognition started, I believe, sometime in 1887. Seeking this, it's been 100 or so years. So if you think about it, all those people from the beginning, and let's just say up until 1956, when the Lumbee Act was passed, I believe it was 1956. And just say that got us to the 50-yard line. And then all the activity that's occurred since 1956, let's just say it got us up to the 1-yard line. Now, as you know, in football, you hear a lot about the quarterback. Names well known. Running backs. And receivers when they go into the touchdown. You hear their name a lot. So, and the defensive team. So when you look at the football analogy, when that quarterback scores a touchdown pass or receiver catches a touchdown pass, it's the work and to go on today achieve victory in a game. It's not just the work of the quarterback and that receiver. It's the tackles, the defensive team, the guards, the center, the linebackers all made a contribution to win that game. And we all know that. But we usually talk about the ones who were getting all the yards running or scoring all the touchdowns, and especially with quarterbacks. But it's a team effort. Now, you don't win a game unless you get into the end zone more than the other team. So in this case, let's just say we're on the 1-yard line. If you don't get into the end zone, we don't get recognition, full recognition. We're halfway there, but we don't get full recognition. You got to get it into the end zone. You got to score that touchdown. And in my mind, Aaron was able to do that through the cultivation of these relationships, and all the stars aligned perfectly so that the politics and the right people were in place that allowed Aaron, through his efforts, to get us into the end zone. We scored. We got full recognition. He deserves credit for that. And him getting credit for that is not taken away from the work that anyone else has done, because he didn't get to the 1-yard line. All those other folks that's been working recognition over the years helped get us to the 1-yard line. He just happened to make the right contacts. Now, what if he had not took the opportunity to invite Donald Trump Jr. through a third party on a bear hunt? What would have happened if Donald Trump Jr. had not accepted? We'd probably still be in the 1-yard line and not be where we're at today. What if Aaron Thomas didn't bring up the love for his people and bringing up the Lumbee cause to Donald Trump Jr. and others in this political network. What if he hadn't done that? Just enjoyed his hunt. We'd probably still be on the 1 yard line. So my point in saying this, I'm the kind of person who likes to give credit where credit is due, and it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle they're on. I'm a Republican. He's a Republican. And I'm not doing this because I'm a Republican. I'm doing it because I believe in listening to all sides, giving credit where credit's due. And if it had been a Democratic person who had done the same thing, I'd give them the credit or recognize their portion of the contribution, like I'm trying to do with Aaron. Now, I don't know why I was in that meeting and why he shared all this with me. Like I said, he didn't ask me for anything. He didn't offer anything. He literally just discussed unity, how we get moving forward. And I can tell you that he's a businessman, which you all know that. He's a very successful businessman. And I'm not trying to justify any actions that he may have or what might change your mind about him. I'm not trying to do anything like that. But let me tell you what business people do. It's competitive. It can be cutthroat. It can be stressful. It can be demanding. Business people are looking for the advantage. They're looking for that competitive edge. They're looking for a way to get ahead, and they lobby. They lobby politicians. Aaron does the same thing. There's nothing illegal about that. He's a businessman. I'm a capitalist. He's a capitalist. I believe in capitalism is the best way to go in our economic activity. It's the best system that there is out there. But I'm not a crony capitalist. I believe in doing things fairly and on the up and up. I'm not going to support any kind of crony capitalism activities. So let's talk about something for a minute. Aaron gets beat up, and I've heard it for a long time, about activities involving the politics in our county, and now he's expanded to the state and on the national level. But again, that's what business people do. So when things go awry, like what happened with these change and amendments, who do you blame? I hear Aaron Thomas's name mentioned a lot, along with others. But I'll tell you who I blame. It's not Aaron. I blame the people that we elected to represent us. They're the ones who make the decisions. They're the ones who are listening to the lobbyists, the Aaron Thomases of the world, and decide to make decisions. So the decisions they make are in support of business interests, or in the best interest of the people, or do they operate on self-interest? I got no problem working with a lobbyist that's trying to get his business ahead, and I'll tell you why. If we didn't have business people, there would be no jobs. So I got to work with business. I don't have no problem doing that. But here's where I separate myself. When business interests and the best interests of the people that I may happen to represent line up, I'm all for it. But if those business interests are not in the best interest of the people that I'm representing, I'm not going to go for it. That's the way we need to be. That's the way the people that we elect need to be. And let's just talk an example. As time went on, we found out John Lowry was being paid as a consultant to Medcom. Now, John Lowry knew that Aaron was interested in building a casino and going to be trying to do business with the tribe regarding that. And Aaron knowed the same thing. What John should have done is did not go and become a consultant for Metcon, knowing that. That's a conflict of interest right from the get-go. Should have never done it. And the sad thing is, John's actions could be totally righteous. But at the end of the day, because he's a paid consultant, people are going to look at it as just another pawn for Metcon. That's one reason to stay out of a situation like that. Do not compromise your integrity by putting yourself in a conflict of interest. Separate yourself. And if you find yourself involved in an issue as an elected official and you recognize that you may have a conflict, raise a hand, let everybody know that it's a conflict that exists, and then separate yourself from the situation. Do not cast a vote on it. And that's why I put a lot more emphasis on elected officials that represent me than I do the business people of this world. You got to have business. Got no problem with it. Now, the land deal, do I think the land deal is still a bad deal? Absolutely. It's shady. It's shady because we don't know all the details. But if all the details become available, maybe we can look at it a different way. But right now, it looks like collusion between Lumbee Tribal Holdings and Western Agriculture. And we got a lot of emphasis on that land deal right now. But that ain't the first land deal. I want to tell you about another one. I ain't going to tell you who the players were. I'm not going to tell you what the organization was. All I will tell you is that probably 15, 20 years ago, there was another land deal. It wasn't in the millions. It was in the hundreds of thousands. And it was the same scenario where X amount of land was bought. 12 to 18 months later, a portion, about 20% maybe, to 25% of that land was sold to a nonprofit for 3 times, 300%. 300% that the original land was purchased for. I researched it. Matter of fact, I had all the documents up until about 2 years ago, and I burned them up. But I know who the players were. They're still around. And I'm pretty sure that I could guess at least some of the players in Western Agriculture. But I'm not going to say who they are. But my point is this is not the first land deal, and we as voters need to be paying attention. Because it's the people that we represent, the members, such as the Lumbee tribe or any other entity, that pay the price on this insider trading deals, which is what this land deal looks like at this point in time, till we know more. Now, again, I'm not sure exactly why Aaron wanted to meet with me and talk, but I listened, and maybe that's why he did. Maybe he thought I have a bigger role to play in Lumbee's for accountability, United for Accountability, than I have. I'm just a member and a donor. So over the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been thinking about that meeting and what maybe I should do to try to contribute to unifying our people and moving forward on the issue of gaming. And here's a couple of things that, in my mind, that would help. Number one, I think Lumbee Tribal Holdings should, along with the Tribal Council, reveal all the details of the land deal. That's one step in beginning to build a process of trust. I think John Lowry ought to end his relationship with Metcon. Even though the damage has been done, I think that would be a step in the right direction to begin to rebuild trust between the people in the Lumbee tribe. Now, I'm convinced that there is a path forward. That's the other piece. And I think the lawyers need to get together and sort that out. Now, I'll mention this. I know Josh. I know him. I'm an acquaintance of his. I consider him a friend as well, and we get to have talked occasionally in the past. But what confused me, at the emergency meeting, he said there is no legal way forward. He asked to go into closed session, and he come out saying we're going to explore legal pathways. I don't know how you can say in open session there's none, go into closed session, come back out and talk about a legal pathway. And if I remember right, I informed Aaron of that I was just confused. But also told him that I believe there is a way forward, and I'm putting my trust and confidence in Miss Arlinda and the things that she has mentioned. So my point is, these lawyers need to get together, and they need to sort out what this way is, and we need to get moving on it. The other thing I think we need to do is, there's a worry about the 30% going to a referendum, is sanitizing the rolls. There's people making six-figure incomes out there at that tribe. They're 24 hours in a day. And I think the chairman needs to get on the job, even if he has to hire part-time helpers to co-locate with enrollment and the people that have the knowledge, and start getting those roles under control and getting the numbers accurate. And I say these things this way forward because the one thing that I believe with all my heart is the people, the Lumbee people, deserve a vote on gaming. And I'm not talking about a game like before on the amendments that had to do with what I consider a power grab, but a vote on gaming so that the people can decide whether or not they want gaming. And there's confusion out there right now, because I know people who are wondering why there's talk of another vote if we already decided gaming. Been no vote on gaming. It was a vote on a transfer of power to the tribal chairman and the tribal council so they could vote on gaming. But the people deserve this vote, and we need to move as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible, and in accordance with the Constitution, with whatever this pathway we come up with, the lawyers come up with, and get moving on this vote. And the last thing I'll say, Preacher Jimmy Strickland. I don't really know him. I think I've seen him around. But in his closing prayer at the State of the Union, the State of the Tribe, whatever they call it, State of Union, whatever. In his prayer, he said something to the effect that the Cherokees bought the no vote, and also went further, and I'm going to read this statement that he made, and I quote, "Once again, whites and Cherokee used faith in God to hinder blessings that you have for the Lumbee people," talking about God. Sound like a racist comment to me. But here's what I don't understand. There's nobody within Lumbee's United for Accountability has accepted any kind of payment from the Cherokee. We had our own donors, and I was one of them. And I ain't taking no money from the Cherokee. I ain't taking no money from Lumbees or anybody else. If I make a contribution, it comes from myself because I believe in the cause. Now, close to, I don't remember the number, between, I don't know, 58 to 6,500 Lumbees voted no in this last election. And he and Preacher Jimmy Strickland insulted every one of them. And in my opinion, he owes an apology to those Lumbees who voted no, and or produce evidence where somebody in Lumbee's United for Accountability or elsewhere received money from the Cherokee that we're on the tape. Show the evidence and I'll apologize. I ain't got no problem with doing that. But it doesn't help with unity when you especially have a preacher that invokes those kind of words in a prayer to God. Because here's what I do know. God knows the answer because he's all-knowing. He knows. And I know. And when it goes back, and I close with this, Aaron deserves, in my opinion, recognition for his accomplishment of getting full recognition into the end zone. All the other folks that had anything to do with working on recognition also deserve credit. Everybody does. I can tell you what I've done for trying to work on recognition. That was nothing. I wouldn't even know where to get started. But I'm thankful that Aaron got it into the end zone. So if you see him, you don't have to agree with his politics or his lobbying of politicians or anything like that. But I think we do owe him a debt of gratitude for getting the ball into the end zone. I appreciate it. If you see him around, just thank him. Everybody likes to get a little recognition for anything that they do. Thank you.